So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of doing a master's degree, and I'm going into my third year now, so I feel like it's a good time to speak about it because I don't think there will be a lot of difference in third year. Anyways, no long intro, let's get straight into it. I'm going to begin with the cons so that the video ends on a high and you don't leave feeling like, ugh, why should I even do a master's? So let's start with the cons. So one thing about master's degrees is that they're quite competitive to get into. I'm talking specifically the counselling master's degrees. I think at the start of first year, there was about 60 of us in a cohort, and I imagine they probably had maybe double or triple the amount of applicants. But to only have 60 people on a course, I think is quite small, because in undergrad you have maybe a few hundred and you're split into two sets of like a few hundred, depending on the course obviously. But to only have 60 I think is quite small. That's literally the size of like two small classrooms, like in a normal primary or secondary school. And that's quite small for a whole cohort. Now, like I said, a lot of people have dropped out or deferred or left for various reasons. So at the moment, we're down to about 30 something students left. And I imagine next year is probably going to be the same thing. By the time we graduate, there's probably going to be around 20 of us, which is a shame because it's so hard to get on the course. And there are so many people who would have wanted the opportunity to get on the course and they would have stayed the whole 3 years. So it's really competitive to get into. You know, you need to have your diploma, you need to have some work experience in mental health or in a helping role of some sort. You need to have a strong personal statement and you need to get through the interviews. It's like a lot of stages to be able to get onto the course in the first place for only 60 spaces. So of course, every university is going to be different, but I'm assuming that there's no university that takes on more than 100 master's students for the counselling course. I mean, point number 2, I think goes without saying, but it's very, 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 very costly, very, very expensive. It really does try to break your bank account. Obviously, I've done multiple videos talking about finances and how they've impacted me and how expensive it is. But yes, of course, going to university in general is going to be expensive, and more so if you're an international student, it's going to be probably like double the amount that we have to pay. So mine at the moment is like 6,000 something each year. So rounding that up is around 18, 19, maybe 20k. So it's a lot of money. It's not cheap, and that's just the tuition. So like I have spoken about this in detail, there are a lot of other expenses that you also need in order to get through the course. You can't just pay for your tuition and get through the rest of it without paying other stuff. Point number 3 is that for me anyway, and I think probably for most other universities, it's one long day of uni, 10 a.m. till 5:30. It's not easy because, you know, you've got multiple lectures, you've got seminars, you've got interactions, role play, practice. You've got so many things all in one day, and it's a long day of just absorbing information. And on top of that, it's emotionally draining and mentally draining because, like I've said before in other videos, you're not just learning stuff, but you're putting yourself out there. You're putting out your emotions, you're touching on sensitive topics, you're talking about personal things, you're hearing maybe even other people's personal problems and traumas. And sometimes people cry. I've cried before while I'm at uni because of triads and things that we're talking about. People have cried. Some lectures are very sensitive, talking about certain mental health topics. So it's not just like, oh, I'm going into uni just to sit down and be lectured at. Like, you're actually doing a lot. Some sessions are for you to discuss and talk about things, to do role plays, so you're actively being there. It's hard to have a day when you can just withdraw and not do anything. Obviously, the course being a counselling course, they're very understanding. If you're having like a difficult day or you're not able to really participate, as long as you tell the lecturer or whoever's in charge in that moment that you just want to observe or you don't want to take part, they will definitely understand, and you'll definitely have time to keep to yourself. But majority of the time is like you come in, you know that you're gonna have to get involved. There's not many days you can just come in and just sit and just ride the wave. So the next point is not going to be applicable to everybody. I'm only saying this from my experience. It might be really hard to make friends. And in general, from my experience and what I've seen, counselling or therapy in general as an industry is mainly dominated by white middle class women. So a lot of the people on the courses are also white middle class women. And I am a young black woman. I don't have any white middle class women that I know personally for any reason. Like, we don't have family, friends or anything like that I know of personally. So for me to go into a course where most of the people on the course are white middle class women, like I remember I talked about it in one of my videos, I felt very out of place. I was like, I'm not going to make any friends on the course. Of course, I have made some friends because there were people within my age bracket who I could relate to. There were some black girls on the course that I could speak to. And in general, I've been able to create great acquaintances with other women who are older, some of them are old enough to be my mum, which is perfectly fine. And I've been able to still relate with them and still create a great relationship with them, even if we're never going to be the best of friends. But I know that if I message them or if I text them about something, like, we can actually have a conversation. Some of them, we've done assignments together, we've done trials together, so I have been able to form a relationship with them. But I think in terms of friendships, especially when it comes to the age gap, it might be difficult if you're a younger person to be able to create friendships, because a lot of the people on the course might be older than you. Like I said, this is just my personal experience, and obviously a lot of them, they've become really good friends because they're all within like the same kind of background, similar age, similar life experiences, so obviously they've made friends. It's not to say that you won't make friends, but it's just maybe something to keep in mind if you are not within that demographic. Another big obvious con is that it's 3 years and not 1 year like most masters. I don't know if I've told you guys the story. When I first decided to do these masters, obviously I thought it was 1 year, just like every other master's degree. And then I remember when it came closer to the time and I was almost finished my 3rd year. So I was thinking about like what universities I might want to apply to. So I started looking and I saw one that's like 3 years. I said, 3 years? And I looked again, another one said 3 years. I kept looking, and they all said 3 years. I was like, 3 years? And I remember like texting my parents immediately and telling them like, oh my gosh, remember when I told you I wanted to do the masters? It's 3 bloody years. And I was literally had tears in my eyes. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, another 3 years of university, I can't do this. And I was so sad. I was like, but this is the only way. This is what I want to do with my life. What am I gonna do? And I was just so disheartened. Honestly, I was so disheartened, because I was like, masters are supposed to be 1 year. What is this 3 year nonsense? So after a while, spoke to my parents. They were like, go for it, you'll be great, you'll be fine. I think it took me a few months to get comfortable with the idea of 3 years, and I started to look at the positives and I started to look at the good side and the bright side. For you, there might be a bright side. Some of you, there might not be, but for me, I eventually found the bright side. I think the fact that it's 3 years is really difficult, because you're gonna have to commit 3 whole years of your life, a lot of time and effort and money, instead of just 1 year, especially if you've just done a degree and then you have to come back and do another 3 years. Like, a lot of my friends have done maybe 3 or 4 years in uni, but here I am with 6 years. 6 years. If you include my counselling diploma, 7 years. What am I doing 7 years of higher education? What am I doing? Like, so yeah, I think that's a big con. I wish they could squash it into 2 years. I did a video explaining why it's 3 years, and it does make sense, but I feel like maybe they need to just reduce the amount of expectation and the threshold for certain things, so we can do the course in 2 years or 1 year, because this whole 200 hours here, 60 hours of this, 70 hours, like, no, maybe just cut it down so that we're not spending 3 years of our lives to this, you know. I wish they had a full-time option, because I personally probably would have taken that route. I don't mind how intense it is. I feel like the option should just be there, you know. I think the other con to doing the master's degree is the fact that you have to do a diploma beforehand. I did not know this. I was out here thinking as soon as I graduate in September, I'm now going to do I even thought I was going to go straight to the PhD, and that was knocked off very quickly. I was rejected as expected. And yeah, I just thought I can just go straight to my master's, and then I found out that I had to do a diploma, and I was like, it's annoying that you have to do the diploma in order to get on the masters. Maybe that might change in the future, I don't know. But as far as when I started, that was a requirement, and I think it might still be level 2 or level 3 diploma. You need to do that. So whatever stage you're at, before you even think about doing a masters, you need to have done like a level 2 or a level 3 counselling diploma first. So that's another year of your life. Boop. And the last con is the fact that this course is very demanding, like I said, in every single aspect, financially, emotionally, mentally, physically. It's just so demanding. This course is like a newborn baby. It requires all your time and attention. And like, if you saw my vlog, you can see that even during my summer holiday, I'm still seeing clients. Yesterday was bank holiday. I saw clients. Like, it's just constant. I think next week hopefully I'll be starting therapy again for third year, and it's like I didn't even get a chance to just like switch off uni completely this holiday. Like I didn't at all. I was either submitting things, resubmitting things. It's just non-stop, and I'm ready for it to finish. Even though they say it's part-time, like I've said before, it is not part-time in terms of the effort that you have to give to the course. You can't just go into uni that one day and not do anything the rest of the week, because the rest of the week you still have to do therapy, placement, supervision, assignments. So part-time where? Part-time where? Anyways, I think that's enough negativity for one video. Let's move on to the pros. So pro number one, I think having a master's degree increases your chances of employability, because of course the more experience you have, the more you're wanted, the more in demand you are. I think that's not just for counselling, I think that's in any industry. The more experience you have, the more likable you are for an employer. So of course with counselling it's a bit more personal, you need to have other things as well, but your experience obviously will usually account for that. From doing a master's you will potentially have 200 client hours or up to 300 client hours by the time you graduate, which is fantastic and will bring you very close to being accredited. And between you and somebody who's got a level 4 or level 5 diploma, and somebody who has a counselling degree and somebody who has a master's degree, with the experience that you have, you're more likely to get hired because you know you've got the highest level of qualification, level 7 I believe it is, and you've got more client hours. The other thing that I think is really good about doing a master's within a university setting is the fact that you've got lots of support. We have a personal mentor / tutor that we can go to. You know, everyone literally is very helpful at my university anyway. Got the program convener who's very hands-on, replies to emails very frequently. All the lecturers, even if they can't help you directly, they'll point to you which way to go. I feel like I've had lots of support. So even with placement, even though the person in charge of placements was really bad, but the university itself has a database that we can still use anyway, even though it's outdated and hasn't been kept up to date. But the point is the support is still there. And they're also very understanding of people who haven't been able to get placements, or placements have been delayed, or they've not been able to get the hours because of blah. They're still very understanding and they're still very supportive, and you get extensions and you get an allowance to get your hours by a certain time, even if it was supposed to be submitted in July. I know I mentioned this as a con, but it's also kind of a pro. The fact that you're in uni one day a week, I think is also a really good thing. Even though it's a lot of effort and it can be draining, I think it's really nice because then you kind of have the rest of the week to yourself. I think I would be really annoyed if I had to come in like 2 or 3 times a week to the same place just for like a 1-hour lecture or something, or 1-hour seminar. So I think it's kind of nice that everything is in one day, you get it over and done with and you don't have to think about it. And I think it frees up the rest of your week to do your other things, your supervision, your therapy, go to work still, and you can work part-time, and hopefully your workplace allows you to be flexible enough to give you that one day off for uni. So I think it's nice that it's one day because yeah, you have the rest of the week to yourself. Another pro is that doing the master's degree allows you to get onto a PhD a lot easier if you want to do a doctorate or a PhD. The PhD or doctorate in counselling, they have a lot of entry requirements. It's not even that they have a lot of entry requirements, but the entry requirements they have are very high standard. So you need to already have work experience with the clients. You need to have this and you need to have that. They expect you to have a ton of experience. But if you don't have a ton of experience, but you've just come from a master's and you've just done client work, they're going to take you on. Like, there's no reason, because that is the next step. So the chances of being rejected on a PhD or doctorate is very low. And by the way, the PhD is also another 3 years. That's up to you, which I might do a PhD in a few years, maybe in my 30s or something, if I feel like it, just so I can be called a doctor. That would be cool. Why not? Another pro is that it's part-time. You're in one day a week, so you have the rest of the week to do your own thing. And part-time as well, I think it allows you to spread out the requirements of the course. You've got enough time to get your 100 hours of placement. If it was all squashed and it was full-time, then you'd really struggle to make your hours and to do all of that, because you'd need to have therapy maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. It just wouldn't work if it was full-time, and I did explain that in another video. And the last pro, I think, is that it helps you to create a nice network of professional friends. So now there's people I've met on the course, and because some people have dropped out, somebody suggested that we create a group chat on LinkedIn. I don't know if it's a group chat, but it's maybe like a closed group or page on LinkedIn for us who are on the course who want to be able to still talk to each other on a professional level and to keep in touch when we go out into the workforce. And I think that's really nice, because I think the counselling industry can be quite lonely, because the majority of your day is spent with clients who go in and out, in and out, in and out. You don't get to like sit around with your colleagues all the time. Maybe if your sessions don't clash, you can have lunch together or whatever. But if you've got like 4 clients in the morning, but they have 4 clients in the afternoon, then how are you gonna meet? How are you gonna talk, even if you're working in the same building? So I think it's really nice that this course allows you to still already have people that you know before going into the workforce that you can still speak to and meet up with outside of work. And especially if you are working alone, or you're self-employed as a counsellor and just working from your house or online, and you literally don't go out to socialize with other counselors because you don't work around other counselors, then I think doing a course like this helps you to already have people that you know in the industry that you can talk to about work, that you can rant to about work, that you can connect with about work, you can go to conferences with, you can discuss industry stuff with. So I think doing this course means I have that, and there are people that I know on this course that I feel like I really want to stay in touch with, and I will stay in touch with, especially even the people that are leaving this year. Some of them are going straight into work, so I'm going to speak to them and find out how it's going for them, what it's like out there. Those are the pros. And yeah, I think we finished the video on a nice positive note, which is good. Feel free to watch the video I did about whether you need to do a master's degree in order to be a counsellor, because I know it's something I speak a lot about on this channel, but doing a master's degree is not the only way to become a counsellor. Be sure to watch that next, and I'll see you next time.